Google Ads isn't what it used to be. AI is rewriting the rules and not everyone is happy about it. Automation is getting smarter, but is it actually helping you as an advertiser? In this video, I'll show you how AI is changing Google Ads, the good, the bad, and what you need to do to stay ahead. So the first thing I want to quickly mention is that AI use in Google Ads is nothing new. This is something that's been going on for years. Now it is becoming more prevalent, more of a factor. The speed of change is certainly increasing, but we have seen AI uses in Google advertising for a long time now. When I first started running on Google Ads, for example, you started by optimizing for as many clicks as possible. And the whole thing was about getting clicks and improving your click-through rating, sending as many people through to your website as possible so that you could get more leads, more sales, things like that. And then we had smart bidding strategies introduced where you could actually optimize for conversions and then later conversion value. And that's a use of a smarter, more sophisticated ad platform helping us advertisers to get better results. We also had introductions with things like responsive search ads. So before we had responsive search ads, and if you haven't been running ads on Google for many years, you might be familiar with a previous version. You used to just write out lots of different ads. And then we had sort of expanded text ads that were kind of like a new version of that, but you used to just write out, your headline, your description, and if you wanted to test that against another ad, you wrote another ad. Then responsive search ads came in, and we were able to benefit from, instead of having all these different ads that are competing against each other, why don't we just create one monster ad with lots of different headline variations, lots of descriptions, and Google can work it out. Again, a smarter, more sophisticated platform. Since then, we've had more developments. We've had Performance Max as a campaign type that can incorporate all the different campaign types, work out exactly where your ad should be spent, exactly who to target. That was a really significant development in Google Ads and AI integration. We've had Demand Gen as a campaign type, and then more recently, AI Max as a new campaign type, which effectively allows you to run ads on the search network without having to do a lot as an advertiser. Not write any keywords, not write any ads, have Google just work all that out for you. More on AI Max later because it's very interesting and I've got some thoughts and things that I want to share on that. So there's clearly been over a number of years more of a movement towards automation. Google basically going, look, you advertisers, when you get involved, sometimes you mess things up. Just let us handle this for you. We'll help you get better results. Using machine learning, using AI, that can create somewhat of a black box feel for us advertisers where we're like, I'm running a Performance Max campaign. I don't know who you're advertising to. I don't know where the money's necessarily going. There's a lot I don't know here. And that can be off-putting for some advertisers for sure. That's sort of the downside that comes with this. But Google's goal is simple, right? Simplify things for advertisers so they can get more advertisers more easily. More small business owners, for example, can run ad campaigns without needing a lot of Google Ads expertise and be able to scale performance with less input. Basically make it easier for advertisers to get us better results because despite what you might hear from certain sources, Google wants us advertisers to get good results because if we get good results, we keep spending money with them and we potentially spend more, we scale, which is of course how Google makes more money, okay? So that is what Google's trying to do. That is what's been going on for a number of years. It's continuing to happen and it's definitely speeding up with things like AI Max. And in future, there's going to be more significant developments along those lines. And we also have to acknowledge the benefits that these new features and updates have provided us advertisers. So when smart bidding was introduced, we saw on average an improvement in ad performance. And we certainly see that now as smart bidding has become more sophisticated, that if you're optimizing, say, for as many clicks as possible, as opposed to as much conversion value as possible, the difference in results, exact same product, exact same ads, everything else being the same, is going to be really significant. You're much better off optimizing for conversions value. There are more sophisticated options now where you can go after new customers specifically, a lot of smart things. Those things have improved results. And they've also created a scenario in which the more data you have within your ad account, the better results you get because Google's optimization process is able to function better and help improve how your ad campaigns run, delivery, all that sort of stuff. So data plus smart bidding has definitely improved results for most advertisers. It's also saved us a lot of time, right? We're not spending all the time on manual bids like we used to, increasing things 5 cents a click and that sort of stuff. We're not spending as much time on working out exactly which placements, where our ads should appear on the display network. We can trust Google to work that out a lot more with smart bidding and other things. That frees us advertisers up to be able to focus on things that matter more and that enable us to differentiate from the competition. Again, more on that later. It's also allowed for more powerful, faster, and frictionless creative and ad testing. So responsive search ads make it a lot easier for you to test lots of different headlines instead of how we used to do it, you'd have to create separate ads. There's only so many you could do at once. You couldn't go add in, 20 different headline variations. Realistically, it'd overload the system. It'd be too much. And we've got asset creation. So Google will automatically generate assets for us. Could be headlines, could be descriptions, could be site link extensions, could be call out extensions, could be all sorts of different things involved in the ad. We're starting to see more of that move over into the more creative parts of Google advertising, not just within search as well. And that process can iterate and will certainly be able to iterate in the future faster than us humans are able to do. And also by handing over a lot of the targeting to Google, particularly with things like Performance Max and more recently things like AI Max, we've been able to reach as advertisers traffic that we just would have missed out on before. So let's say you're setting up your ad campaign to only target really specific keywords using exact match, maybe phrase match, or you're only going to ever be exposed your brand, your ads, your products, your services to people that are searching for that stuff. Whereas if you're going, you know what, we're going to expand this out, we're going to use broad matching combined with smart bidding, we're going to use Performance Max, Google will be able to go out and find people that wouldn't fit neatly into targeting criteria that we might have used previously, but they can find those people, identify they'd be good potential prospects to put ads in front of and help us get better performance. So a real unlock there. And it's one of the big advantages of these more open targeting style campaign types like Performance Max is you get to benefit from everyone who could potentially be in your target audience, not just the people that you've specifically specified. So in a second, I want to quickly run through the downsides to this AI integration and involvement with Google Ads. But first, I want to quickly let you know about our done-for-you Google Ads services. So my company can create, manage, and optimize your Google Ad campaigns for you. We can worry about all the new AI features and integrating them and testing them and working out which ones should be used and which ones shouldn't to get you the best possible results. And we can almost certainly help you get significantly better results if you do decide to work with us. If that sounds interesting, there is a link in the description. You can click on that, come through to a page on our website and book in a free, no obligation call with one of my team members to find out more. And hopefully we get a chance to work together. Okay, so the downsides to AI and automation becoming more and more of a part of Google advertising, because we have to be fair here, there are pluses, there are advantages, which we've already discussed, there are also some downsides. So the visibility and the control that advertisers have is certainly significantly diminished. With things like Performance Max campaigns, it can often feel like just gotta trust the process and hope it works out. Very little that advertisers can do, or feel like they can do at least, is probably more than they realize they can do. We'll discuss that more again later on in the video to help improve things, but it is much more of a hand over to Google and see what's working. And that not only gives advertisers a sense of like they're not in control of this, but it also doesn't inform advertisers as much as it used to that can benefit the rest of their marketing. So when you used to have to be really heavily involved in keyword research and in writing your ad copy, well, those are pieces of information, that skills that you could transfer to other marketing channels or impact your branding and your website. You know what? Our customers really care about this. Less easy to work that out if you're just running, say, a Performance Max campaign. When things are really open, so you use smart bidding strategies in combination with broad match keywords, or you're using a Performance Max or a demand gen and saying to Google, just go out and work it out, sometimes Google misses the mark. They don't find the right people. The system that's designed to get you the best results doesn't sort of work out exactly who converts, how to get a conversion early on, and that can really hurt your results. Could be an easy way to burn through a lot of money. Far less likely to happen in ad accounts to have more conversion data, because Google's better able to optimize and they understand what's likely to get you the best results, but that's certainly a risk that you can have, particularly with new ad accounts. If you have more manual control and take care of things and tighten everything down a little bit more, that's less likely to happen, particularly if it's an experienced advertiser doing it. When Google's doing all of this optimization, I've talked about they want us advertisers to get better results, and that's certainly true. They also want what's best for their ad platform. So whilst they want ad results to be fantastic across the board for advertisers, they're not necessarily going to prioritize you as an advertiser over your competition. And because Google advertisers do compete with each other, that's the nature of any ad platform, you're competing with other advertisers for attention, to get the click, to get the conversion, all that sort of stuff. That can, I think, leave advertisers with the feeling that Google's done this because this is better for Google's ad ecosystem, not because it's better for me. They've allocated those people that they are putting my front of ads in front of to other audience, or they're spreading the hyper-responsive audience in my market around across advertisers to sort of keep us all happy. And a lot of this stuff is all conjecture. We don't know things that are going on sort of behind the scenes. But whilst our incentives and Google's incentives very much do align broadly, sometimes there are going to be circumstances where that is not the case and you want to do something more specific that wouldn't necessarily be best practice across the board, but might be for you. If everyone's using Google's automation systems, they're going to implement what's best practice across the board depending on their data. Now, things are pretty smart. A lot of stuff optimization-wise gets tailored per ad account. I think the fears of this are overblown, but it is something that we should recognize for sure. I also think that as we've seen more AI involvement, more campaign types like a Performance Max, like a Demand Gen, and certainly this will be the case with AI Max, when Google does more of the work for us in terms of the ad campaign setup optimization, I think that leaves a lot of advertisers, particularly those with not much experience on the platform, with the idea that it's up to Google to get us results. Whereas previously when Google was like, hey, we're an ad platform, you can come in and create a campaign, I think people more naturally understood that it was up to them to create a good enough campaign to get results. And whilst Google is trying to do more and more of the heavy lifting, what you do as an advertiser still absolutely matters. And you don't want to be in a situation where it's up to Google. If they're not getting results, it's totally their fault. There's nothing I could have done to improve that. That's not true. You need a lot of the broader elements in place to get a Google ad campaign to work really well. So you need good brand positioning. You need high quality landing pages, a good sales funnel, offers, sort of post-click experience to be really good. You might need to have good reviews and feedback on your product or service, because if there are better alternatives, people will check that out and they'll be like to go elsewhere. So don't see this as a just hand it all over to Google, let them work it out, nothing I could do as an advertiser. And I think that's one of the downsides to this wave of AI integration is advertisers are left more and more with that situation. So we want to take a balanced view. Yes, this can save us time. Yes, it can help us out, but there are still things we need to do and still areas where we need to fight for competitive differentiation, because that is what matters in all marketing. You're trying to convince people to buy your thing instead of someone else's. And that's going to be up to you when all Google advertisers are benefiting from the same AI and the same automation processes. So the big question is, what should you do about this? Well, I'll get into that in a second. First, I want to let you know about Hyros. Hyros is fantastic tracking and attribution software and can really help you improve your Google ad results. It's a software that all the big players in the industry use, including myself. I use it to track results for my own ads across multiple platforms, including Google Ads, and all my organic results as well, which is super helpful. So if someone, for example, comes through and books a call for our done for you services, I can see exactly where that person came from. This is particularly important if you're running ads across multiple channels or generating customers organically as well. Without accurate data, you are flying blind, and knowledge is power. So let me show you how important this is. So I'm here in my Hyros dashboard. I'm going to take a look at the data and the results that Hyros has been able to track and compare those to what I'm seeing within my Google Ad account for the same campaign. So this is a Google Ad campaign that we've been running. We're only looking at data for a few days here, but it really demonstrates what's going on. So you can see Hyros has registered 6 leads generated, a cost per lead of just over £15, 75 clicks. It's just a branded search campaign, hence why the CTR is 30%. So not a huge amount going on, but representative, right? So that's the data we can see within Hyros. If I jump over to my Google Ad account, we look at the exact same campaign, same time frame. We've got May 21st to 27th. You can see a lot of the data matches up, right? We've got 75 clicks, 30% CTR just like before. But if we scroll over, you can see that Google has only registered 3 conversions as opposed to the 6. So it's registered half the number of conversions. And I can tell you, looking at the back-end data, that the 6 from Hyros is the accurate number. And that's why this is so important, because we might look at the Google Ads data and come to the wrong conclusion, think this isn't profitable, turn stuff off when we shouldn't, but we can verify it with the Hyros data and make much better, more informed decisions and end up with better overall ad results because of it. So if you want to improve the performance of your Google Ad campaigns and be able to see exactly where your leads and sales are coming from, go ahead and sign up to Hyros. There is a link in the video description. So what are the new best practices when it comes to Google Ads? Because Google Ads has certainly changed and is continuing to change as we see more and more AI involved in the platform. So the first thing is, don't fight it. You can't be the advertiser that is like, no, I'm going to do things the old school way. I'm not going to use these new features. I'm going to stick with, there's still some advertisers probably advocating manual bidding, even though that has been not the right way to do things for many, many years now. And all the new features that are released, there are always a subsection of Google advertisers that are like, nope, not using Performance Max, not doing it. I need control. This is just not long-term viable. You are going to have people outcompete you, potentially who don't know as much as you at the other stuff, because they're taking advantage of this. I also don't think you necessarily need to think about just handing it over to AI. You need to not fight it, you need to use it, but you also need to learn to guide it, give it the right signals, feed it the right information to help you get the best results possible. Now, one of the most important ways of doing that is with tracking and attribution, okay? So you need to make sure that you've got browser and server-side tracking set up. A lot of Google advertisers don't. That makes a big difference. The data that your Google Ad account receives absolutely plays an impact in how Google is able to optimize and improve your results. You also need to think about the other signals that you give Google to help improve your campaigns and get your results that you want. So your landing page is a really big data signal. What information is on there? What can Google use to help create the assets in your campaign, to help work out targeting? Your creative is another huge one. Google is going to put your ad creative in front of people. Obviously, this depends on what kind of campaign you're running. This is assuming you're not just running ads on Search Network, for example, which is something I'd recommend. But your creative, that's going to be put in front of lots of different types of people. Google's going to test that. Who engages with it? It needs to speak to your right target audience. Things that you really need to think about. One of my favorite strategies on the ad creative side of things is to use creators or influencers to produce your assets, your creative assets, images, video in particular, for you. A lot of Google advertisers find that producing ad creative is not really their strong suit. They maybe come from more of a search-based background. That's where they feel comfortable in the data, the technical weeds, and the creative side of things is a bit tricky. So just go out and work with people that they do this for a living. You get high quality assets. And if they are an influencer creator in a niche, they're likely to grab attention much better than a more generic ad. You get better results. You completely outsource that work. A win-win all around. So a potentially easy way to move into the more creative side of Google advertising and not just rely on search. And that's a really good way to differentiate yourself from your competition. Offer is another really important data signal, right? So who does that speak to? Who is it your offer pitched at? Is it at the lower end of the market or the more premium end of the market? Is it designed to be really specific to a subsection of your market or more broad? These are all inputs that you give that will then impact how Google runs, creates, optimizes your campaigns. And the offer is obviously going to be in the headline of your landing page. It's going to be on the ad information that you provide. And that is one of the most important things that you can do with AI being involved more and more in Google Ads to find a way to win. Offer differentiation is always going to be really big, along with creative differentiation using creators, all that sort of stuff. The other thing I'd recommend as well is test against AI. So don't just always assume that the AI version, the automated version, is going to be better. That's not necessarily true. So that is the direction of travel. But right now you might test AI Max, for example, against a more traditional search campaign and find that a more traditional search campaign works best for you. Well, if that's the case, continue with the more traditional search campaign. Retest AI Max because it will likely improve over time. That's how these things go. But it might be 6 months' time, might be a year, might be longer before it outperforms the more manual version. There are some things I'm pretty happy for you to switch over on. If you're still using manual bidding, then smart bidding is almost certainly now the way to go. But that's been around for a long time, and that's been best practice for a long time. So when you see new things come out, new AI-based features happen, absolutely test them, but don't assume it's going to be the best option. Test against what you're currently doing and see what the results say. And you can always be led by that, as opposed to, someone like me saying, this is great, go ahead and use it. So overall, I would say that the AI improvements and updates and new features have been beneficial to the Google Ads ecosystem, to us Google advertisers, to help us get better results. But I'd be curious to know what you feel and what you've experienced. Would you say that AI is helping you get better results, or is it doing the opposite? Let me know in the comments below. And in this video, I've talked quite a lot about AI Max and that being a really massive AI development. It's literally in the name, and a potential game changer when it comes to search campaigns. If you're not familiar with AI Max, exactly how it works, I go through it in detail in this video here. I show you exactly how it works, what's likely to happen, some of the feedback that we've seen from it, both in our own testing, but also in talking to my community about it. So if you haven't already, definitely go ahead and check this out.